Hi everybody, it's Megan. I research Strengthening Family Coping Resources, or Sfcr, for my project. I'm currently doing my internship as an in-home family therapist, and I was curious about other effective interventions with families. I firmly believe children affected by trauma and other stressors need to have the caregivers involved in treatment in some way, because these things affect the whole family, and strong family support systems can reduce the effects of these stressors greatly. I really enjoyed learning about Sfcr, and I'm hoping to implement aspects of it into my current work with families. We are going to start off with the very basics. What is Strengthening Family Coping Resources? It's a trauma-focused, skill-building intervention that utilizes a family approach. Its goal is to reduce symptoms of post-traumatic stress in children and caregivers and to improve the family's ability to cope with stressors. The biggest thing I work on with children and caregivers at my internship now is coping skills. And it's become very clear to me that coping skills are not something everyone has at their disposal or knows how to use. So helping families develop these skills is crucial. Where did Sfcr come from? It was developed by this woman over here, Laurel J. Kaiser. She has quite the resume and has spent her career working with families living in poverty, victims of domestic violence, neglect, physical and sexual abuse. She presents nationally and conducts trainings on Sfcr and complex trauma in families. She co-authored the book Helping Traumatized Families, which is an acclaimed resource on the subject. She is also regarded as the lead author of the conceptual model of complex trauma in families. She received support and funding from the National Institute of Mental Health, down here, and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration to develop trauma-informed family interventions, and thus Strengthening Family Coping Resources was born. Sfcr is for a variety of populations, but mostly for families affected by complex trauma or exposed to multiple traumas. It is implemented in high-risk, high-stress contexts such as urban settings where many families are experiencing poverty. All members of the family are encouraged to attend every session, and there are breakout groups throughout the family sessions focused on specific age groups from infants all the way to grandparents. It has been utilized all across the country. The theoretical basis is rooted in coping theory, family systems theory, attachment theory, family resilience theory, and social support theory. It is assumed that all family members are part of a system, and every member affects other members of that system. As there are several different theories involved, several different kinds of therapies are utilized in Sfcr. One is narrative therapy, as the family practices writing and sharing their trauma narrative together. Cognitive therapy, which focuses on thought processes, and anxiety management training, which helps individuals manage fears, worries, and excessive concerns. There may also be aspects of supportive therapy and exposure therapy, in which families might be exposed to things that scare them or make them anxious during the sessions. The core components of Sfcr are the coping resources, which also act as protective factors to better prepare families for stressors they may encounter in the future. There are 6 main coping resources, and here they are. The first is deliberateness, which is about helping families practice reasoning and problem solving before coming to hasty conclusions or reacting. The next is structure and a sense of safety, which we know is incredibly important for children who have experienced trauma. Connectedness, which is about increasing the family's connection to one another. Resource seeking encourages families to look for support and services that they need. Co-regulation and crisis management helps families manage mental health crises that may arise and practice regulating their emotions with the support of each other. And the final coping resource is focused on helping families create positive affect, memories, and meaning in their lives. The basic format of Sfcr is typically 10 or 15-week multi-family group sessions. Imagine attending family therapy with your family, but there might be 4 to 6 other families also there. This is basically family therapy and group therapy mashed together. It uses the power of group process and the systems focus of family therapy to bring everyone together and make progress. There's also a peer-led group model for parents, where parents attend 21 one-hour sessions. And they're also in the process of developing a single family model. So hopefully we will have more on what that looks like in the near future. The most researched and most common model is the multifamily group format or model. So we are going to focus on that one. This treatment is broken down into 3 modules, and every session is 2 hours long. The first module is 3 sessions for a total of 6 hours. The second and third modules are both 6 sessions each, or 12 hours each. This comes to a whopping total of 15 sessions or 30 hours of treatment. For just 1 session a week for 15 weeks, your family can develop tons of skills together. I think that's a pretty good bargain, and I think it's not an excessively long treatment compared to some other ones out there. To break it down even further, the first module introduces family rituals and routines. Activities in this module might include telling family stories or creating a family ritual tree. A ritual family tree involves having the family talk about rituals or traditions they share. Then the family is asked how they're going to water and fertilize their ritual tree, or how they will keep their rituals healthy and help them grow. They may talk about pruning the tree, changing current rituals to make them better, or planting new ones. This activity, like others, incorporates art, where the family works together to draw the tree and add their rituals. A lot of activities in this model include creative interventions like art and play, which is really exciting and I think engaging for everybody. The second module is where the real work begins. Families work on building coping resources, building social support, enhancing safety, and improving their ability to plan and carry out family activities together. The third module is where the heavy trauma work begins. This is really the meat of the therapy. The family uses their new coping skills to focus on their family trauma history. This is where they develop the family trauma narrative and explore a shared sense of meaning with one another. In the final and 15th session, they celebrate all their hard work and focus on the positives in a kind of graduation ceremony. That's always fun. A sample session may look like this. Every single session starts with a family meal for the first 30 minutes. Isn't that cool? Food brings everyone together, I think. And I don't know, I feel like if my therapist gave me food, I'd be a lot more engaged in the session. Next, there would be an opening activity, which is also consistent across all sessions. This might be something like a gratitude activity or playing a communication game. The Sfcr website advertises their family game, which is called Famlingo, which is a communication game where each family member pulls a card and has to answer a fun question. Then we would do a review of the previous week's homework. Homework is utilized between sessions so the family has an activity to do together over the coming week. The bulk of the session would be spent on item 4, which I selected the family ritual tree for. It's always some kind of interactive family activity. There are also typically handouts and worksheets that go along with this. Then you would introduce the week's homework assignment, which will likely build on the main activity for that day. And every session closes with the same kind of activity, which might be something like a relaxation activity or a mindfulness exercise. The family meal, the opening activity, and the closing activity are all consistent across sessions, which is why I made them all purple. So every session has one of those. SFCR is very culturally relevant. I found it was really interesting that every article I found about it had something about culture in it. It has been adapted for Latino or Hispanic families. It is offered in both Spanish and English. Research has been done with multi-generational African Americans and a multinational sample of Latinos. There is some focus on under-resourced families, and it has been used mostly for families experiencing poverty, which limits their access to regular resources. It is a treatment method that can work for these families who might not adhere to other treatments or may not be able to get to sessions due to transportation or monetary difficulties. Looking at the studies that have been conducted, children experience significant reductions in PTSD symptoms, re-experiencing, and arousal symptoms after completing SFCR with their families. Children also saw significant reductions in internalizing symptoms such as anxiety, depression, social problems, aggressive behaviors, and attention problems. Caregivers reported decreased parenting stress and healthier family functioning overall. Families also reported high levels of satisfaction with the intervention. The average rating of 4 or 5 on a 5-point scale. The average attendance across sessions was 85% for families who completed the treatment, which means those folks that did make it through the whole treatment did not miss a lot of sessions along the way. There was a 53% completion rate among all the families that signed up for the study initially. I know that seems kind of low, but actually it was comparable to other interventions for low-income urban populations, and I actually feel like it's pretty good considering all of the barriers to treatment that this population has, such as transportation needs or financial difficulties or scheduling difficulties or other jobs and things that they have to deal with. It's a lot to get to therapy. So I think having 53% of the families that initially sought out to do it finish is pretty good. It's a little bit more than half. We'll take it. Here are the studies I looked at for the effectiveness. All things considered, I think SFCR is a great family intervention. I like the structure of the sessions, and the skills being taught are incredibly beneficial for families affected by trauma. I could see this being used not just for trauma, but for families who experience all kinds of stressors or have communication difficulties. It's a great way to engage all members of a family. And I think it's really culturally relevant, and it seems like it's been very effective, especially with different cultures, which is really important. And I'm hoping that maybe someday I could get certified in this and do that with families at my internship or somewhere else. I think it would be really cool. Thank you for listening. Hang in there, everybody. Have a good night.